Well, questions mounted this week among both Democrats and Republican members of Congress over the alleged double tap incident that blew up two surviving suspected narco terrorists near Venezuela.
I think the only way we get to the bottom of this is by analyzing the video, audio if it exists, but also having the Admiral testify and others who were present testify so that we can hear firsthand what did they see, what did they know, what were the orders, what action did they take.
That was California Senator Adam Schiff. Well, Navy Admiral Frank Bradley, who oversaw the operation, provided a classified briefing to lawmakers on Thursday. And according to the latest information, 22 vessels have been struck, resulting in 83 alleged narco terrorists being killed. Well, joining me now to talk about this, Senator John Cornyn of Texas, a member of the Senate leadership team, as well as a member of the Committee on Foreign Relations. Senator Cornyn, welcome back to This Week on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.
So what did we find out from, I know part of the briefing was classified, but what did we find out that we can publicly share from the Admiral?
Well, what we knew going into this is that these cartel members have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations. And this is not a law enforcement activity. This is a activity designed to protect the American people literally from weapons of mass destruction, which are the poison that they've been shipping into the United States for years now. You know, to the Adam Schiffs of the world, I would say, are you happy with the status quo before President Trump took this action, where tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans continue to die from this poison? Or do you believe that we ought to do something about it? But President Trump was acting, in my view, well within his constitutional authority to protect the American people against foreign terrorists. And I don't think you'll ever satisfy the many of our liberal Democrats who disagree with just about everything President does just because it's President Trump.
I think that's absolutely true. But I was on the Hill a few weeks ago having conversations with many of your colleagues, and some were raising questions about the information they were getting from the administration on these strikes. Now, of course, this was a few weeks ago, but has that concern been satisfied in providing the information as to what the administration is doing it and how they're going about it?
Well, to your earlier point, Admiral Bradley testified this morning in a classified setting, and obviously I can't go into great detail on that, but I will say that no real new information came out of this, nothing that would question the legitimacy and the appropriateness of the president taking this action. Again, you know, my Democratic colleagues always seem to pick the wrong side in these arguments, whether it's pick the side of illegal immigrants over police, including ICE, or pick the side of narco traffickers over the American people. I just don't really understand it. But again, I think a lot of this is just reflexive action opposing President Trump and whatever he does.
It could be a little bit of both, just natural inclination, as well as just anything President Trump does, they have to be against. Before we move on to some other domestic topics, the State Department new travel warning being issued for citizens going to Venezuela. Should we be anticipating more action there in Venezuela?
Well, it sure feels like it. I know President Trump has had a conversation with President Maduro, offering him safe passage, to some other place. He is not a legitimately elected president of that country. He's stolen the election. He's the head of something called the Cartel of the Sun, which is a narco-terrorist organization. He's tied intimately in with the Iranian government and the IRGC and Hezbollah, one of its principal proxies in South America, in Venezuela. So I know the president has apparently not made the final call, but you've seen the huge buildup there. And I think the pressure is going to continue until something happens. And I think that something means that President Maduro is going to have to leave one way or the other.
Now, and you mentioned he is not the legitimately elected president. there's about 50 or 60 other countries that have the same viewpoint. I mean, this is not just an American issue. This is an international issue because of the irregularities in that election. In fact, there was another candidate declared the winner.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, he follows on in the lineage of Hugo Chavez and other dictators of Venezuela, and he is as corrupt as he could possibly be, and he is an avowed enemy of the United States, cooperating with these narco traffickers who continue to ship their poison into the United States and take the lives of innocent Americans. So he is somebody who, as I said, needs to go. And I'm supportive of what President Trump is trying to do with this maximum pressure. Where it ultimately leads, I can't tell you right now.
Senator Cornyn, as I said, I want to move on to domestic issues. The funding for the federal government goes through January. There's an effort underway to try to get the normal appropriations process, the 12 appropriations bills, through the process. You have spoken out to your colleagues in the Senate on the Appropriations Committee, making sure that Hyde protections, that is a wall of protection for American citizens, that they will not be forced into funding abortions in this country. Is there a concern that longstanding Hyde provisions that are attached to appropriations bills each year could be at risk?
Well, Tony, it's the uniform position of our Democratic colleagues that the Hyde protections should not be in any appropriations bills. In other words, they support the use of taxpayer money to fund abortions. But the Hyde Amendment really, as you know, dates back to the 1970s and has been the consensus position among members of Congress since then. But recently we've seen the Democratic Party and their representatives become more radicalized on this issue, and now they are opposed to extending this Hyde protection. This is also an issue not just in the end of the year appropriations bills, but also in the subsidies for the Obamacare policies that expire at the end of this month. So this remains a hot issue.
I wanted to ask you about that, Senator. We just have about a minute left, but there's still ongoing discussions about extending those subsidies. Now, Republicans have never voted for those in the past, but will Republicans demand that Hyde be applied to those Obamacare subsidies if, in fact, they are advanced?
Well, first of all, Tony, I don't believe that those subsidies will be extended. As you point out, no Republicans ever voted for Obamacare or any of these subsidies. And I believe there is not support in the Republican conference to do anything without appropriate Hyde protection. So we're still talking, and I'm hopeful that we'll come up with some negotiated outcome. But right now, that's our position.
All right, Senator John Cornyn, I appreciate you joining us today, and I do appreciate you advocating for the sanctity of human life.
Thanks, Tony.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.